the one who got Sheldon into crypto.
Hard for me to get it out.
I love you, Dad.
Didn't have a backup.
He put us through some things.
Yes, man.
My biggest fear was, how do I make sure they don't turn out the same?
And I'm the one who got us all scammed.
We were out a lot.
He is the #1 streamer in the world.
His dad obviously being in the barking scene.
A lot of violence.
And a drunk driver took him out on his motorbike.
It was my last chance.
And sometimes I ask the question, you don't need to do this. Why do you do this?
Been a while since cameras, bro. Talking from the heart. Been a while. You're gonna make me cry. I think that's the question.
We're actually obsessed with winning. I think we're all now obsessed with winning. And also we're in the presence of the #1 live streamer in the world today. So we just
I still remember it like it was yesterday when we got that second approval from Ran on the management group that he is the #1 streamer in the world. I'm telling you, it put another spark in his team that is closest around him.
We know with Sheldon's very good in bull markets. In bear markets, it's the opposite. He usually disappears and crawls up, and we have to beg to get him into office. Now we're in a bull market. As you know, we're at the top. So far the markets feel very toppy. It's December. It feels amazing. And yeah, Sheldon's back. The views are back. The energy's back. He's live every single day. Sheldon's back.
November, December 2024, everything was cooking. The views were up, the candles were green, everything was so easy. You know, everyone's making money. Comments on the show are amazing. The club is on fire. Everyone's making money. Everyone's happy. We're building the dream. Trump has come in, and we're off to the moon.
It was beautiful to hear it, to see Ran smile and be proud of me. All I've ever wanted to do was to make Ran proud. He gave me the opportunity at Banter. But in the same... On the other side, I'm just very proud of myself that through all of the mental abuse that happened in a long period of time, that I managed to get myself back on track. And I'm just proud of myself that I still got it firstly, but that I never lost my belief.
Sometimes there has to be two sides to me, because I work with Sheldon, but I'm his mom. So from a working perspective side, yes, it's great and the team feels successful and everything, but from the mom side, it's a worry. I mean, all that pressure isn't great, and as a mother, you don't want that type of pressure for your child. The amount of work that goes in behind the scenes, what people see, they see Sheldon rock up to a show and present, right? But they don't know what goes on for the rest of the day, and just behind everything that happens. And sometimes I ask the question, you don't need to do this. Why do you do this?
Growing up was a very big roller coaster.
We didn't have it easy as kids. We kind of grew up in an area that was very negative. People were negative. Your dreams were limited. Not many people were successful in our area. Not many people had many dreams as big as ours. Where we come from, obviously, wasn't the best. We come from Boksburg, Benoni.
I was a bit less fortunate than he was. Not like he was very fortunate with money and all that. They also had struggles, and obviously his parents always had their own battles and stuff like that.
Obviously I had Sheldon when I was very young. I was 16 when I fell pregnant with Sheldon. I had turned 17 by the time I'd given birth to him. And his dad was 17, 18 years old back then. We didn't have rich families. We weren't rich at all. I mean, we were always just barely surviving. And obviously now having a baby at that age, we didn't have parents that could help support us. We just had to make do, and we had to accept what had happened.
His dad obviously being in the biking scene, got him motorbikes when he was small, let him go and race at 𝗙𝗶𝗃𝗁𝗃. That's a racetrack in the south of Joburg.
Anything he did, again, from a young age, on the racetrack, wherever, always winning trophies, just being number one wherever he goes. It was tough for him as a kid as well.
The environment we were in wasn't really good. We had a dad who, don't get me wrong, he was a great man, but he put us through some things.
I had these two pillars, these two warriors of parents, where my dad would get quite yeah, he would go through very tough patches. A lot of violence within our homes, within places we went. I've seen a lot of like guns in my life and people getting abused in front of me, and you know, I saw a lot of that, and then I also saw how he would turn it around, and then they would do very well, and then he would punch his boss and then lose his job and then lose everything again. And I moved easily between 10 and 14 houses by the age of 15. We just moved everywhere. My parents would split up. I could live with my gran, then come back, and my mom was just working so hard all the time, you know, with an abusive partner at times.
Hard for me to get it out. Yes, man. So Sheldon's life was not always easy. Dylan was a handful. He's my cousin. Loved him very much, but he wasn't always the easiest person because of, Dylan was a very insecure guy in a lot of things. He was very jealous over Danny, very protective. No one could ever put an eye on Danny, and Dylan would get in there and fight. A lot of times it would be unnecessary, and then Danny's mom would have to like feel the brunt of it. You know what I mean? Dylan, there's nothing wrong, everything is good, but Dylan had I suppose a lot of us men do, insecure. But some of us know how to control it a little bit better than others. He was unfortunately one of the guys that was like very insecure. And a lot of times there'd be fights in the house.
We were out a lot, like in pubs at a younger age, you know, especially like even like 13, 14 years old. We would be out pubs, either with his dad or my dad or both.
For me, my biggest fear was, how do I make sure they don't turn out the same? And how do I make sure that they have better morals and better values and can become better versions of themselves? And because none of that's guaranteed.
I think our mom always pushed us to just dream big and want to do big. And I think that's where Sheldon doesn't have limitations at the moment, because we got brought up to shoot for the stars. Aim for the moon, but shoot for the stars.
Dylan and Danny started separating.
From about 12 till he was 16, about 4 years it took me to get the divorce right. And ultimately it was me finding out that he was living multiple lives and was seeing multiple women at that stage. But I was never able to prove it, and I got to a point where I hired detectives and whatever else, and I got the point proven. And at that stage, I think he was more upset with what I'd done, that he just let me go, and we were able to actually break free from him.
So Sheldon, I think at the age of 16, 17, Danny used to take him to baseball. I think he joined baseball when he was about 12, 13. I stand corrected. At 12, 13, he started playing, and he played for Cardinals, Boksburg.
And he did very well. He did very, very well. He made it to all the Easterns teams. They won matches. He got selected for the South African team. And they were supposed to play England that one weekend.
I still chatted quite a bit with his dad, and Dylan let me know that he got him a motorbike for transport. And yeah, I got a phone call the one day that Sheldon had been in a bike accident.
He was at practice on his little motorbike. He was 16, and a drunk driver took him out on his motorbike. and he landed up with plates and pins in his arm. He had, his knee got quite severely damaged. If anyone's noticed, he always has a beard, but he's got a very big scar on his face here where the helmet had ripped his face open. And that's when his baseball career came to an end, because he couldn't operate. He was in a wheelchair for 6 months. He was a matric, and he tried to go back, but he just wasn't as fast as he was. He just couldn't perform as good as he wanted to.
From a young age, I think from around, like from 16, obviously he started his working career as a waiter. Then from that, he continued to study in high school, and out of high school he tried the college, but that didn't really work. So then he became a carpenter for one of my dad's friends for a little bit, and he didn't like it, so he wanted to build his own business, his own carpenter business, when he got settlement monies from a bike accident that he had. So he wanted to use that money to start his own business, which was a carpenter business where he wanted to install kitchens, make furniture. And yeah, he did that for quite a while, and it worked out. But not as, when I say it worked out, I mean like for us, that was, just being able to have a one-bedroom apartment type thing. That was good for us back then. But yeah, I think he always just wanted more. I think we always looked around and, our mom deserved so much more. The people around us deserved so much more, so.
How do you stop your children from seeing him and protecting your children from being a part of that? Because when they're young and they're kids, I can control them. But when they become 16, 17, 18 years old and they become their own people, I can't control them seeing their dad or where they go or what they do or what they go through. So it was very hard for me to know that they've got this influence, because his dad was more trying to be their best friend than a dad.
Sheldon and my path crossed about early 2020s. So I'm 𝗙𝗲𝗃 Craig, by the way, and I'm the one thing I can have to say, I'm the one who got Sheldon into crypto, and I'm the one who got us all scammed.
But before that, I kind of fell in love with it. Got this cool idea, it's a new money system, things are different, backed by gold, incredible. And I always liked growing up, I always believed I'd never work for a boss. That was the first thing. And I always wanted to do something completely different. I always wanted to get there quicker than everyone. I think that was always been my goal. Like, I've seen these rich guys, how they got there, and I'm like, how can I do that in 10% of the time? So my whole trading career kind of started off with me falling in love with this idea of doing something different and something new, then finding out that I was making money pretty quickly, and this is where that, if it's too good to be true, it's probably not true, right? This is where I learned that strong lesson, because for 2-3 months, this thing went well, and I closed my little business. I sold everything that I had. I bought my mom packages, my brother packages, my dad packages. I had this idea that my family's gonna be rich. My parents are gonna have what they've always wanted. And it shut down. And when it shut down and the people behind it stole all of the liquidity from the exchange.
And literally overnight, we lost all our money, everything. I mean, literally waking up and not being able to buy lunch from one day to the next is kind of the reality of the situation that we're in. We were deep, deep, deep in trouble.
To be honest, I don't think I could ever share the emotions now from how much I cried at that time and how upset I was, because my mom lost her business at that time, my dad lost his work at that time, and I didn't have a car, I didn't have any work, I didn't have anything. And I'm grateful because a week or two before that, I did put around $380 into a Binance account because I wanted to maybe try Bitcoin. I didn't know much about Bitcoin at all. And I had a laptop that was bought for me from a guy that I helped him buy Bitcoin, and he just said thank you, because I never had a laptop. I did a lot of my phone. And I looked at that laptop and I had this idea of Bitcoin, and I'm like, you're my last chance. Like, I don't know where to go after this. I don't know what to do after this. You're telling me you never sleep. You're telling me you're 24/7. You're telling me that I have a chance to make something of my life. There was a very big switch in my brain that day. I'm gonna give it my all. I'm gonna give everything I got. And I'm gonna try.
What I started to do personally at the time was we started a little Zoom session. It was OG Jason, it was myself, where we were trying to educate people, kind of similar to what happens on a show today, but this was very small. We had like 7 or 8 people that come on a daily Zoom, and we would try and teach people about being safe in crypto, like not being scammed. And we also had to rebuild, and with this community, we started to build up. One of the days now, Sheldon sort of came onto this. He had no sort of education in trading at all. So, I mean, when we were using these fancy words like support and resistance and whatever, Sheldon would come and go, well, I don't know, but all I see is I see a ceiling here and I see a floor here. Like if we get to the floor and we don't drop through it, we're going to bounce back to the ceiling. And that was Sheldon's like way of starting to rationalize the market. But he started to use this basic strategy right there and then to actually start making money. And suddenly all these guys that had been, been learning TA and that started to take note of Sheldon. Myself included, OGJ, we were like getting onto these Zooms to like explain this. And what was 7 people became a couple of 100 people, started becoming hundreds of people that would watch these Zooms. And Sheldon was now explaining this. But he wasn't a teacher, he wasn't an educator, it was all new to him.
When I'm telling you my mom had no money and my dad had no money, we didn't have a backup. We didn't have any of these type of things. So trading was my last chance. And it took me a couple of months to get destroyed, but I never quit. I kept going and eventually got to a desperate point of, I just got to trade for dinner and I just got to trade for electricity. And I started trading one by one. I started achieving, and I started breaking it down into smaller steps, and instead of going for the big target, I started going for the small ones because that's all that I could do at that time. I started paying things one by one. I started getting things slowly getting paid, and it taught me a very valuable lesson to break your goals up and achieve step by step. And that's where the whole trading journey started.
Danny phoned me the one morning and she's like, hey, well, I got news to tell you. And I'm like, what news? And she's like, Dill's gone. And I'm like, what do you mean Dill's gone? No, it's that phone call. Dylan's dead. Yeah, it hit me. I got beside myself. I actually just put the phone off. I didn't want to take it in. And I went to my wife. I told my wife's like, what do you mean Dill's gone? And then the onslaught of it all hit me. Obviously, I always thought Dylan being a biker, it was a motorbike accident or something. And I'm like, okay, what happened? And then he's like, no, he committed suicide. So it was like, I can't even explain to you. My whole life then they turned around. My business started to fall to pieces. I fell into depression. Yeah, I remember that day so well. After speaking to Danny, I got on the phone with Sheldon, and I'm like, Sheldon, are you okay? And he's like, yes, you are. I can't believe this shit happened.
We got the phone call and we had to go through and identify him. He obviously didn't have anybody at that stage. So they wanted the boys to go identify him, and I said that's not going to happen. So I went and identified him. The boys came with us, but we identified him.
Like, I'm right here where it's happened by my dad, and I'm like, okay, Charles, just keep your cool. If I can ask you to go do me a favor, is just don't go inside or anything, but just, because he told me where it was in the bathroom. Sheldon hadn't been in yet, so I'm sitting on the phone with him. I'm in hysterics. I can hear I got to contain myself for him because it's obviously harder on him than it is on me. I mean, geez. And I asked him to just go to the bathroom and say a prayer for his dad, just for God to bless his soul, And what happened is Sheldon went and he done that. And he went to the window to do a prayer, and the window was actually open and he got to view his dad. And I think that just knocked him 10 times harder. Fuck, now I'm gonna start crying.
It hit my brother hard. It hit him a lot harder than it hit me, I must say. He didn't take it too well. it was a thing of, you know, like, why?
I think what goes through my head is like, what was he thinking? And in those last few hours, when he was driving back to his house, what was he thinking? He must have been so hurt. He must have been in a really... It's hard for me to understand where he was on that last drive home. Because his car was still on when we found him. His ignition and that was still on. So he literally got out of the car and he got into his little room and he did what he did. And I can just feel in the car like the amount of emotional high he was feeling at that point. It's really hard for me to understand. It must have been a lot of pain. That's all that I can, to do something like that and to be able to pull yourself up. To do that to yourself, I think there must have been a lot of pain. To not think about your family at that time, to not think about anything but just turning the lights off. It's hard for me to grasp, but at least this still gives me a little bit of him. And it gives me a little bit of remembrance of where we're from and what we've been through and why we continue to fight every day. I love this man. He's a big reason why I am who I am today. It means the world to me. I love you, Dad. I fucking love you. I appreciate everything. I don't think it will stop. Yeah, it's absolutely dead. I'll never sell the car.
We need to go and just meet up with this guy.
And one of the people that he came with was this guy called Sheldon.
Get all the vultures away.
You don't see one Ferrari, one Lambo. And I'm gonna tell you, I've made great money on this journey. I've done well. Like, you don't see one.
He's like, I don't want to get rich alone.
You know, when we went to Crypto Live, like all those people came across with us.
The minute you put Sheldon on, he won't stop.
When you doubt him, there's a switch in the man's brain.
Community starts to turn on you.
He's very hard on himself.
I have to think of the typical David.
That's a very, very, very ugly opinion and people will kill me for it.